Hi, this is AJ, and today I'm going to show you how to create an effect in Fantasy Grounds. Um, Now, you don't have to create effects for just spells your character knows. You can create any effect you like. In fact, I've created a level 1 human fighter here. His name is Joe Mama. Thank you, Vocab Malone. And I'm going to create a sneak attack effect for him. And I'll show you how to create other effects as well. Um, But what you do is you go to your Actions tab, and then you right click with the right mouse button, of course. Right click in this area, anywhere in this area, to bring up the radial menu. And then you want to add a spell class. Give the spell class a name, call it Special Abilities. If we wanted to key a duration to a caster level, we could give our fighter a caster level, or give our character a caster level here. If you actually are playing a caster, then you need to put in your CL, your caster level here. And then give them access to first level spell bank. Not because we're creating first level spell. I know fighters don't cast spells. Please don't bother to tell me fighters don't cast spells. Um, if we needed something tied to an ability score here, we could simply click in this box and set the ability score. That also, as you can see over here, modifies the DC. So if it were a strength-based ability, some of you 5e players will like that. The DC would be higher for our fighter here than our Dex-based ability or our Int-based ability, right? Or our Charisma. So anyway, but if you don't want that, keep clicking until it goes away. Then you see the magnifying glass up here. Clicking magnifying glasses opens or closes additional windows for more information. If you wanted to, for instance, modify your weapon somehow. If we wanted to give our great sword an additional 1d4 fire damage, we could simply pop this here, type that, give that damage a type. We'll call this magic, and we'll give the weapon a +1 bonus, and boom. Now suddenly we have a magical greatsword. We roll our attacks with it. Oh, I didn't make the attack bonus. Okay, so we put in a bonus for the attack roll since it's a magical greatsword. We also have our +1 damage bonus here since it's a +1 greatsword. So we make our attack roll there, and we see our attack modifier goes up to a +5. We make our damage roll here, and we'll see that Fantasy Grounds rolls all the dice, adds them together. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. So we're creating a special abilities. Remember, we right-clicked, we created a spell class, then we come to inside of our spell class, we're going to right-click on the bar there and add a spell. Right? It's not going to be a spell, it's a power, special ability, just a code for Fantasy Grounds to know what to do with what. But since our Flaming Greatsword Fighter isn't dealing enough damage, we're just going to give him a sneak attack ability. Now, I'm not actually giving a fighter a sneak attack ability. I'm just showing you how to create the coding here. Once you have that typed in, and this doesn't matter, you could type whatever you wanted to in here. We're going to right click on the spell bar again. Going to come over here to 3 o'clock on the radial to add spell action. Come down to 6 o'clock on the radial to add effect. Magnifying glass again to pop open the spell ability effect window. We're going to just add damage to our next roll. So it's going to be, the coding is simply going to be DMG colon, and let's get redonkulous and give him 5d6. Okay, and we're doing that for a reason. You can set the duration here if you want to apply this damage. I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to apply this damage for a number of rounds equal to your caster level, for example, you could click here. Even caster levels, so if you get it at 2, 4, 6, get it odd caster levels 1, 3, 5. If you want it to be equal to your strength modifier or any other ability modifier, you could keep clicking until you change that. If you want it to be set to a fixed round, for example, a fixed number of rounds. For example, if you are creating a Bardic Inspiration effect, and you want to like, you're not the bard, but the bard doesn't know how to do this, and so for some reason he doesn't want to learn. You can create the effect here. If the bard is, say, 7th level, you can put a 7 there. It would be number of rounds. And you can always refresh this, right? I know. There's a number of rounds equal to the bard singing, and then 5 rounds after the bard stops, and you can always change this later. But let's not worry. Well, if you want it to be 7 rounds, 7 minutes, 7 hours, 7 days, you can click there. But we're not going to do that. We're working on sneak attack here. The target is going to be whoever I drop the ability on or whoever I'm targeting. But if you were creating something for yourself and yourself alone, such as Barbarian's Rage, or if you're the rogue actually and you are creating this for yourself, you would click there and just click self. That way, when you click the button to apply the ability, it will automatically default to you. And when does it expend? Well, it would. We're going to have this one expend on the next roll, right? And once all that is set, there's nowhere to click to save it. It's just there. We're going to close that. We're going to close the magnifying glass here. Now we need to make sure that our fighter is on the combat tracker. He is. Oops. As up here from previous attempt. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll make sure also that our fighter is targeting our 1st level Orc Warrior here. Now, I've given our Orc Warrior a massive amount of hit points because we're going to beat on him a little bit in this video. Let's heal him up there. So, I'm going to, let's see, did I set this for self? I think I did. Yes, so I don't need to target myself. I can simply click this button and you'll see that it applies this effect to this character. Also, it announces that I'm applying that effect in the chat window, so you can't sneak something onto your character without the GM noticing. And once I've done that, let's just roll damage, and I'll show you what happens. So my damage block didn't change. I've just added this effect for 5d6 sneak attack damage here. I double click this and it throws all of the dice. You'll notice that the greatsword damage is in black dice and the added dice are in purple dice. That way, if the monster, I roll the attack and the GM says, haha, this monster is immune to critical hits and sneak attacks, the GM will know exactly how much damage came from the sneak attack, and he'll be able to restore that to the monster. Now, let's create another ability. Again, right click here, add a spell, and we're going to give ourselves an attack bonus. Let's call this flanking. Right? So I'm in 3.5 and in other systems, if you are flanking, you get a +2 bonus to your attack roll. So we're going to right click, go over to 3 o'clock, add spell action. We're going to come down to 6 o'clock, add effect. Going to pop open the magnifying glass here, and the coding for this is simply ATK : and these are all in capital letters. You get the syntax from these from the wiki. If you go to Google and you simply type in Fantasy Grounds effects coding, and maybe even add in your preferred system, Starfinder Fantasy Grounds effects coding, 3.5 Fantasy Grounds effects coding. There's even a library of coding effects, but there's a wiki there to tell you how to make your own. So we're adding an effect, an attack bonus here. But let's not give ourselves an attack bonus of 1. Let's give ourselves an attack bonus of 55, just to be dramatic and show you how this works. That's really it. We're going to put it on ourself. We're going to tell it to never expend, and we're done. Now, this is a flanking bonus, so let's be reasonable here. All right, flanking is a bonus of 2. We want this to expend. We want this to last 1 round, because when we move into position, we're going to be flanking, and we'll get that bonus as long as we are flanking. If we're still flanking on the next round, we can simply reapply it. So duration 1 round, targeting self. Okay. Now all I have to do is close the magnifying glass here, and you'll notice that my sneak attack effect was for 1 roll. It is now gone. There are no effects on my character. So I'm going to apply the flanking here, and then I'm going to make my attack roll. Now it should be at a +5, but you'll notice the attack roll, I rolled terribly there. The attack roll is at a +7, and it tells me right here in the chat that there is an effects +2 going on. So so that your GM knows what's going on, he may say, hey, where's that +2 come from? You can say, oh, I'm flanking. If you want to create more interesting codes, I've copied some of the effects from the effects library here. There's a lot of things you can do with this. So, for example, we've got our Barbarian's Rage here. And what I would do is just Control-C, copy that, right-click, add a spell. We're going to call this Barbarian's Rage. I'm going to right-click, add a spell action, add an effect, pop open the magnifying glass, and then since we copy this directly from the wiki, we can just paste it in there. Don't forget to set your duration. So if you want to refresh this every round, or if you think you might want to go 3 rounds at a time of raging, you can put that in there. Targets self, or if it's set on targeting target, then whoever you have targeted, that is, whoever you control click, would receive the benefit of this effect. So if I'm the fighter and the barbarian doesn't know how to apply abilities to himself, I can create this rage effect, put it to targeting targets, and then when I target the barbarian and click the button, it would apply that to him. I could also, if we were on, so let's say I wanted to, for some reason, the orc became friendly, and he goes into a rage, and the GM says, "Oh no, I don't know how to apply the barbarian's rage to the orc." I can target the orc, like I've got it here targeted, and click the button. Boom, and you'll notice the effect goes on to the orc. It also says that Joe Mama down here applies this to first level orc warrior, or which is another way that I think is pretty cool. If we had this on a battle map, I could simply click, drag, and drop the effect onto either the combat tracker or the token on the battle map and apply the effect the same way as well. So let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of this, and now our fighter is back to a he's attacking with a +5 with his greatsword, right? Let's clear all this just so you can see better. Attacking with +5 to his greatsword, right? Now, for some reason, our fighter develops the ability to go into rage. I drop the rage on Joe Mama, and then I make the attack with the greatsword. It goes up to a +7. You'll notice because his strength went up by 4, his con, his saves all went up. And even though nothing changed here, it changes in the actual roll on the window. So I rolled poorly here, but I rolled it with a better modifier than I did with that. So there's all kinds of things you can do with this. Again, check out the effects library on the Wikipedia. Just type in Fantasy Grounds effects library, or Fantasy Grounds 3.5 effects library, Pathfinder effects library, 5e. There's 5e is very well supported in the effects library so that you can do things like grant disadvantage on an opponent when it attacks you. You can grant advantage on yourself. You can do all kinds of crazy things that 5th edition added to the game. And it's really very useful. The more you know about this stuff, the more you're going to enjoy Fantasy Grounds, the better your enjoyment of Fantasy Grounds will be, because it automates more abilities. So rather than saying, "Oh wait, I'm a barbarian. I'm raging right now, so my strength is actually at a plus 4. It's 4 higher than it normally was. So it was a 16, and now it's a 20, and I add two to my attack rolls and 2 to my Fantasy Grounds will say, "Oh, just click this, boom, and you're done. I will do the rest." Right? So you spend less time worrying about the mechanics and more time bashing down the orcs that we hates and despises precious. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was useful. And let me know if there's something else you'd like to see.